In today's journey, we talk in defense of Pinter, even though they said that they don't want to be friends with us. Legal and marketing said that I'm a bad influence. It's high school all over again. But let's get into this. Why is the Pinter so great? Because it has a built-in sponging valve, a dry hopping port, built-in draft system, and it even does secondary and primary in the same vessel. This was actually the component that the Pico brew system was missing when they promised us Keurig-style brewing. And even if you're saying, well, I brew over 10 gallons at a time, this is a great way to do experimental small batches from your larger batches without adding a whole bunch of extra work. It's the keg, it's the fermenter, it's everything. It's not all glitter and gold though, as the Pinter team would probably want me to remind you that misusing the Pinter in any way, including using other ingredients and kits, will invalidate the warranty and could cause damage to the Pinter and potentially be dangerous. Any of the advanced brewers are probably already noting that fermenting under pressure is always potentially dangerous, even when using a Pinter kit. But I hold no ill will. I understand that there's not a lot of markup in homebrew equipment, but enough negativity. Let's get into the fun stuff. For those unfamiliar, a sponging valve allows a beer to self-carbonate with its own produced CO2. Often referred to as pressure fermentation, this is an advanced brewing technique that is great for preserving hop flavor and prolonging shelf life by avoiding contact with dissolved oxygen. But my favorite part is the self-carbonating. Now that local homebrew shops keep closing down, it's harder and harder to get easy access to CO2. So why not just not use it and have it self-carbonate? In fact, the only thing that I haven't liked about the sponging valve is that there is no failsafe PRV. Also, unlike other pressure fermentation vessels that are made out of plastic, this one doesn't have an expiration date for when it needs to be hydro tested again. These are two of the questions that I will be bringing up to them directly during the deep dive of this product. But we're trying to be positive here today. So the next really cool thing about the Pinter is that under this plug is a port that lets you put in flavors and ingredients during fermentation under pressure. Unfortunately, it's only designed for liquids, and you kinda need to use their specially designed bottles to do it. And although I do plan on getting creative when it comes time to stabilizing my wine, I highly recommend not getting too creative with this part, as this is where you are most likely going to get a explosive projectile that could do you physical harm, or kill you. For best results, we would need to find a foil replacement for the top, as it would be a lot easier and relaxing than my flip it over real fast technique that I use for adding yeast nutrient to my cider. But that was a really small amount of liquid, and I was wearing eye protection for just in case. It is kind of a shame that Pinter doesn't sell the hoppers just by themselves, as maybe I want to hop up a different recipe, or add peach flavoring to something else. Perfect opportunity for an upsell. But the rug that really ties the room together is the docking station. This mounts to the front of the Pinter, allowing all the trub to fall down during fermentation. Once there, the brewing dock can be removed, taking with it all the trub and dead yeast that we don't want to affect the flavor of the beer. We also had the stupid idea that if we were to add ingredients that could jam the seal when removed, to add them directly to the brew dock instead of to the main chamber. This way, it's already past the O-ring. Theoretically, here you can see Phil adding pureed blueberries to the brew dock, as he was originally worried about skins getting stuck in the O-rings, but the pureed was probably more than enough to make that not happen. But in a future batch, we're going to use oak cubes, and that's probably best to put in the docker. Of course, technically, theoretically, it is possible that a chunk of wood could get stuck into the O-ring, causing it to not seal when the brewing dock and the Pinter are separated. This could at best cause a leak, at worst cause an impaling injury. Highly unlikely, but a plausibility. Part of why we need to always be careful when fermenting under pressure, no matter whose ingredient kit we're using. And if you were wondering, that was about a pound of blueberries that Phil just poured into it. The problem is that it will also have to share the space with the trub later on too. This is part of what they mean by saying that the recipes have been rigorously tested. Regardless, the brew dock is a great way to add ingredients that you want to remove before you move on to serving. And as we move on to serving, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the active pour tap from Pinter. And if you read their blog, you will know that this is their pride and joy, and their secret weapon for having an entire gallon pour under its own power of CO2. The secret sauce is in the variable resistance in the tap. Whereas a traditional faucet is on-off and half opening it is a bad idea, it is important to remember that a Pinter's pour is very different to that of a Square's. First, you kind of have to feel out its mood. It depends how recently it's been moved and what temperature you're trying to pour at. But one of the big secrets is to only open the valve as far as it needs to, as opening too wide will lead to excessive foaming. You will also most likely want to pour on the side for as long as possible, as the Pinter is working with less line resistance than a traditional keg system would. Only pour in the center if you are in need of additional head. Whenever I see people complaining that a Pinter cannot pour a proper pint, I notice that the Pinter is placed on a kitchen table. So either they just recently moved it, meaning it's agitated, or it's gotten warm, meaning it's agitated. Or most likely, they're just bad at pouring beer. As I took this to a family reunion after an hour car ride, and it poured fine. It did need to rest for about an hour first, though, just like what we did when we put it up on this lab jack. Now at this point, Phil's supposed to pull out his tape measure, but apparently he takes 10 minutes to look for it. But here you can see that it's a near perfect pour, even before and after. It is a Hefeweizen, so I do expect it to be a bit thicker. But check out this hazy IPA that comes out to a perfect 1-inch pour. Unfortunately, that was for the test footage, so we don't have that on film. And now, just for fun, we'll assume that we haven't convinced you yet, and move on to phase 2, explaining all the great stuff that you can put inside your Pinter to ferment. Pinter, of course, has a great lineup of kits available on their site. They may be pre-hopped, no-boil extract kits, but they are well put together, and are yet to find one that we don't like. Up next for us is the Big Mouth Remix. Each kit comes with a recipe bag, a yeast that will bring out the flavor profile appropriate for the beer style, in some cases a hopper for adding hop oils or flavor extracts, and to sell the concept of an all-inclusive kit, the sanitizer is included as well. But there are also all kinds of other creative and exciting 1-gallon kits out there, such as the Brooklyn Brew Shop kits that are all grain. No disrespect to the quality of the Pinter kits, but there's a lot more to brewing than just mixing water, sugar, and yeast together. A lot of times it's the process of solving problems. Like, I have no idea how I'm gonna make this sparkling rosé work in a Pinter, but I'm gonna try. And unless Pinter's gonna start doing mega kits, there's no way that they can do something like a Belgian triple. Best they could do is an Imperial Stout by doing a double. But then Craft a Brew will swing by with a milk stout recipe. And with the holidays around the corner, wouldn't it be nice to surprise the family with a nice sparkling spiced wine? And maybe great Aunt Sophia III won't approve, but you know what? The best part about brewing is having fun. Especially at the 1-gallon size. That's where just the love of the craft is the most important. Even if it's just adding a little extra honey, or maple syrup, or even just a little extra fruit flavoring. Although be careful with anything too aggressive, as some flavors may stick around. I am going to continue to buy Pinter packs, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to throw in a gallon of cider from time to time from my local cidery. So if that hasn't convinced you how awesome a Pinter can be, then make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss out when we make a blueberry cider, Johnny Jump Up style. And don't forget to let us know what you think in the comment section. Or help us fund our next endeavor to piss off a manufacturer by buying some of our art. Or just check out other ways to support us in the description. Otherwise, check out some of our other videos. And of course, happy brewing. Ta-ta for now.